Good afternoon, everybody. Today is March 22nd, 2020, approximately, what time is it? It's approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My video today is going to focus on this situation with the COVID-19 coronavirus that we're experiencing a pandemic at the moment. We're experiencing a global pandemic. And in rideshare today, Uber and Lyft, the income has been severely curtailed. It has been severely curtailed. Um, there's not a lot of business out there right now. And with this pandemic, it has severely curtailed the restaurant industry, the tourism industry, the aviation industry, rideshare industry. Um, it has severely impacted the stock market. It's just like one of those really bad tornadoes that usually come through Tornado Alley down in the South. It's like that. The economic damage is beyond comprehension. And I want to say to my fellow rideshare drivers that I feel the pain. Now, some of you out there use this platform as your primary source of income. And I'm not faulting you for that. I mean, because when the money's good, it's good. But I always caution folks to have a plan B. Reason you need a plan B is very simple. The economy can take a downturn at any possible point in time. And as we have been experiencing with this COVID-19, it took a severe downturn. I stumbled onto an article this morning where a newspaper in Las Vegas had interviewed a rideshare driver, and he was talking about how him and several of his fellow drivers were sitting at McCarran International, the international airport in Las Vegas, Nevada, and were sitting there for over 3 hours and got zero pings. And that's bad. One of the ideas I was talking about, and apparently some things have been changing in DC, but I was saying that rideshare drivers should be entitled to some sort of an assist through the federal government now that they're talking about these bailouts. And rideshare is considered in some parts of the country to be an essential business. In California, they consider it to be essential workers. I'm not so sure about other states, but I know that in California, it has been mentioned several times that rideshare drivers are considered essential personnel. And the rideshare professor had stated that when he put the Uber and Lyft signs on his car, he got no static from the police at all because they realized he's essential personnel. Especially with all this stuff going on, and there are still people who need rides to work. There are people who still don't have cars. There are people who are still essential personnel that work at hospitals and nursing homes and things like that, where they can't even actually afford a vehicle, or they may not be, their vehicle could have been in the shop through an accident, and they didn't have the coverage to get a rental car, so Uber and Lyft was their next best choice. So there's a lot of stuff that's out there, and honestly, I would just like to see the government respond in an appropriate way and consider that us gig economy drivers, which is we're considered gig economy, even though we're considered independent contractors, except in California where they passed that AB5 where they're considered employees, but we're considered gig economy workers. So I would like to see some sort of bailout. And I'm not saying one of the things that people were talking about was, oh, no, it shouldn't be Merry Christmas. You shouldn't be getting a windfall. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that through these past few weeks that the demand dropped. And there are some folks who face foreclosure, who face a mountain of debt that they can't pay, that face the risk of being homeless, quite frankly. And so I would like to see them say, you know what, we'll take the average. And Uber and Lyft has those records. They know who drove what. And they could take those averages and average it out and give every driver some sort of a compensation, some sort of compensation for the average time that was lost this week and last week. Right. And it wouldn't be terribly difficult because this stuff is all electronic. Matter of fact, they send you the number of hours you worked and how many rides you took and how much money you made. Right. They send that to you. So I would like to see that happen. That would be a positive thing. Another thing that the rideshare professor mentioned, and I was kind of piggybacking on what he was saying originally myself, I was saying that I would like to see now don't get me wrong, Uber and Lyft are really trying right now. I think this is something that's been unprecedented that happened. I mean, I think it's obviously that this was something unprecedented that happened with this COVID-19. It's something that this country never faced. It's something that has been talked about, bandied about. People have speculated for years. There was even a video that Bill Gates put out in 2015. That's available on YouTube. If anyone was interested in seeing that, you can just Google the hit the question bar there on YouTube and inquire about Bill Gates' 2015 TED Talk. It's called a TED Talk. And you'll see that Bill Gates talks about this global pandemic. But despite that, I still say that this was something that was just unprecedented. It's something that is a life lesson, if you will. They will learn a lot from how things worked, what didn't work, what would work in the future. We saw that there were shortages of masks. We saw that there were shortages of testing kits. They were told that the World Health Organization had offered kits and it was turned down for whatever the reason was. I don't know. They know better than I do. I have no idea why that happened. But the point being that it was a lesson learned that would make things better, hopefully, in the hopefully unfortunate, unlikely event that this would ever happen again. Right? So, having said all that, I would love to see Uber and Lyft, however, with what they did, cutting the executive salaries, taking some of the pain, creating the fund for the COVID-19, but I would like to see them take it further. And like he was saying about the profits, saying, hey, why don't we figure out some kind of a way to take some of this profit, put it into a fund and distribute it to the drivers, the people who gave you those profits in the first place? Because you got to remember, folks, that we, the drivers, do a lot of the heavy lifting, right? We have to have our own vehicle. We have to carry our own insurance. We have to do our own maintenance, tires, brakes, etc., repairs. We have to do all of that provide the comfortable ride for these people. I get a lot of compliments. I'm sure other drivers get compliments on their vehicles too. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that the point being is that we have comfortable vehicles for these folks to ride in and be happy and get to a place safely and comfortably. In the summer when it's hot, there's air conditioning. In the winter when it's cold, we have the heat. I mean, these are the things that we do. Provide aux cables to charge people's phones, all those little things that a lot of people don't even think about or just take for granted. We provide that. And I think that a company such as this would be well served to take a look at that stuff and say, you know what, these guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I should say, to be politically correct. These ladies and gentlemen provide a very valuable and a very good commodity to our customers. And some of it is reflected through tips. Some of it is reflected through kudos that the passengers give, thumbs up, 5 stars, all of that stuff. That is the dynamic, or the mark, I guess is the word I was looking for, that should be used to say, hey, we could pass along some of this. Like a lot of companies do what they call profit sharing. That's the word I was looking for, profit sharing. I knew I would come up with it sooner or later. But anyway, profit sharing. That would be phenomenal if they would just take 5%, 4%, 2% of the annual profits and distribute it to drivers. I'm not calling them out specifically. I'm just saying that this would be a great idea. And on the driver council, when that question comes up, I think I would vocally argue for that, the profit sharing, because I think that would send a great message to drivers too, that, hey, these companies really care about you, because without you, there wouldn't be a company, because we're the glue that holds it together. I mean, sure, they provide the platform, they provide the logistics, the mapping, the directions, the support. I get all that. I'm saying that I get all that, right? That's a very good point. But however, we're the glue, because without us, there's no vehicles. There's no ride. Right? There's no ride. So I think that if they were to extend that to us, like I said, I'm not talking about 10% of the profits, 20%. I'm saying just 2%. Whatever that figure works out to. I mean, that's better than nothing, right? If it's 2%, it's 2%. But figure out what that amount would be, and then say to all the drivers, we really appreciate and care about you. We love you for working for us. Whether we're considered employees or not is irrelevant. The point being, we recognize the value and the worth of you for making our company successful, and we want to share that with you. Not a problem. All right, folks, have a great day. And